Hi, my name isn't Jay, but that's the name I'm going to go by here. I've already posted a couple of videos on this channel, but I didn't come up with this idea alone, but my therapist didn't exactly outline specifically what I'm doing now, but this is what I'm going to do. I don't care if anybody sees this. I don't care if anybody comments on this or likes this or whatever. It's literally on the internet because it not only gets my story out there to try and get some kind of relief. Um, Maybe relief isn't the right word, but to get some kind of closure. If the people that I'm talking about do see this video, inadvertently, not because I put it in their face, then that's fine. But I don't want to send these next couple of videos specifically to the people that I'm talking about because one, it'll be very readily apparent in the future why with the coming videos in this series. Two, because I'm a coward and I don't necessarily want to start shit, bring up old wounds. But three, most importantly, because that's not what this series is about. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about putting the blame on who's to blame, even though people should be made aware of what they did, even if they aren't. But again, that's not what this is about. This is about me and my trauma and my issues and my anxieties and different things when it comes to family. Because that's what it's about. It's about family. It's for catharsis. It's for me to have some sort of way to, again, release isn't really the right word, but to have some sort of way to kind of look back and say, yeah, I've talked about it. Yeah, I've expressed my feelings 100% raw. And it's not that I don't have people that I can't do that with in my own life. It's that I, I wouldn't call it like, borderline personality disorder. Definitely not that. But I feel like every single time I come to somebody and I talk about these things, I have to fine tune or adjust the way that I say things and what I say in the way that I say it for that specific person. Like, I can't just go to my grandfather and talk about these issues the same way that I would with my mother, the same way that I would with my wife, the same way that I would with a friend, the same way that I would with a therapist. You know what I mean? This is going to be 100% me. 100% what I want to say, how I want to say it, in the way that best feels like the most me, if that makes sense. I'm also kind of doing this for future me. To kind of look back on how much I've grown, because I look back on how much I've grown now in the year 2025, and I've grown so much. I can see that with my wife Alex, the way that she um, the way that she sees the world and how she sees different things that she's experienced in me and have helped me work through those things. Those are, maybe I should put myself more in frame. I've grown so much because of her. And I want to look back on how I've grown with this topic in specific. Because I like to say, as a Christian, that I have grown, that I have grown from these situations, and that I forgive. If I were to meet some of the people that I'm going to talk about, and I would tell them, I forgive you. I would tell them that, because they, not only do they deserve to be forgiven, but I deserve to have those things released from my shoulders, taken from me, so I don't hold on to them anymore. But I can say, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you until I blue in the face, but do I really feel it? And I don't. And the topic I want to talk about is my family, my father's side of the family specifically. And if my dad was still alive, I would tell him to his face that I forgive you, but I know deep down in my heart I don't. And I don't know if that's because I don't have the closure, because I never got to say goodbye to him, because I never got to ask him the hard questions, because I never got to ask him why, or just because what he did, I just, to my core, I cannot forgive. I don't know. I don't know, because with my wife, the things that she's gone through with her dad, which are, in my opinion, 20 times worse than what happened with me and my father. And she, at least outwardly, can say that she forgives him, sure, but I don't know if she can deep down inside. And if she can, how can she do that and I can't? I don't know if I'll ever understand that. But I'm hoping this can help. Putting out 100% of everything. I'm going to use names, real names. Yeah, I think so. I really do think so. I think maybe I'll change the channel's name. I don't know, but I want to use real names. Not because I want to name and shame, even though part of me does want to do that. But so there can be no confusion. I'm not going to use last names. Like my name is Nicholas. I'm not going to use last names or anything else. But if you know, you know. And if you are a part of this situation, I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Either take what I have to say and deal with that can of worms yourself, and do some introspection into yourself and soul search yourself, or not do that. I guess there's really only two options here. But don't come to me, don't come to my family and my mom's side of the family, and don't harass us about this. Please, I would like to ask you to respect us, at least that much. My dad I guess I should say everything that I'm about to say is either secondhand information from my mother and grandparents, or firsthand information directly from me, things that I have experienced. Um, because I don't talk to my dad's side of the family, and I somewhat don't think I would respect anything that they would have to say to me, which is why I don't. We'll get into that. We'll get into current day stuff. Which is why I don't want to talk to them today, because I don't think I could respect or believe anything that they would have to say that isn't um, in line with my worldview. I know that sounds really scummy and shitty, but like I can't, and you'll learn why. You will absolutely learn why. Um, I guess the way that I should do this is if I were to talk to a hypothetical member of my dad's side of the family. Maybe, I don't know, but just going by the seat of our pants, we're just doing this. Fuck it, we're doing it live. My dad was a villain and a fiend. I'm just kidding. He wasn't a great guy though. Let's get that off right off the bat. So my dad um, was born um, in a family. He was like a middle child. He, I believe, he had like 7 or 8 siblings. He his parents, my grandparents, um, as far as I know, were um, Christians and raised all my aunts and uncles Christian. Um, I know that my grandpa had some issues before and even after he got saved, as far as I know. Um, but that's literally all I know about my grandparents. Um, I believe that my grandpa was raised in Texas and my grandma was raised in Mexico. So they both mostly spoke Spanish. They didn't speak a whole lot of English, which is why probably why I don't know a whole lot about them. I think my grandma passed away when I was like 9. My grandpa passed away when I was about 12, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. Um, anyway, I don't know a whole lot about any of my aunts or uncles. There's Benny. He lives somewhere up north where I live. I think I only met him like once or twice. He's the oldest. Then there's Delilah. I don't know a whole lot about her. And this is in no particular order. I don't remember which one's oldest or youngest. Excuse me. Then there's Becky. Um, I know a couple of things about her. But I guess she was in jail until I was like maybe 5 or 6 years old. Um, but her daughter Lizette, I have favorable opinions of, even though I don't talk to her anymore. Um, then there's Eddie. He lives close. Um, I know some stuff about him mostly through my grandfather. He's told me some stories about him. Then there's Homer. As far as I know, he can't stand me or my mom. As far as I know. Um, then there's Neto or Ernesto. As far as I know, he can't stand me or my mom, as well as his daughter. Then there's Ramiro or Ramiro. Um, he's the one that I like most out of all of them mostly because he's very soft spoken. He doesn't stir a whole lot of trouble, and I like his daughters. Daughters were always really good friends to me, even after everything went down. Um, then there's Hector, who committed suicide before I was even born, I think. Um, I feel like I'm missing one or two, but that's the gist of that family. My dad's name was Xavier, or Javi. People called him Javi, or Harvey. People who thought like Javi. What name is that? You mean Harvey? No, it was Javi. Um, as far as I know, my dad was a good Christian guy. Got married to my mom. Um, and wasn't exactly Christian. He either was at one point and kind of lost faith multiple times, um, or he never really was 100% into it, and he just was that way because of his parents. I don't know. That would be one question that I would ask him, if he ever really truly believed. Um, some stories. Um, just I don't really don't know how to go about this, but I guess I could just some details that make me believe that he wasn't ever a good person. Um, he would get jealous of my mom even bathing me. He would buy things for him and totally completely neglect buying like my mom food or me diapers or wipes or whatever, and my mom would have to basically rely on his own mother and her mom too to help with things for me. And that was very apparent that was true, because he would do that into my childhood years and then teenage years for however long that was, that he was around during my teenage years. I believe he passed away when I was about 14 or 15. He would neglect to, and this part I witnessed, buy my mom food and sometimes even me food, to do things like go eat with one of his brothers, or one time in specific, go golfing with one of his brothers. Or a very popular trend he had was to go to the gas station and get himself a soda and chips or something like that and not bring us home anything. Or even if we were in the car, he would get gas, go inside, get himself snacks or a drink or something, and not bring me and my mom anything out to the car with us in it. Recently, my grandfather told me that one time he I don't remember if we had just met my grandparents at Burger King, or if we were supposed to meet them there on purpose or what. But apparently, we had all ordered, and he freaked out, saying things like, "Well, I'm not paying for everybody," and my grandpa had to pay for us. He would do things like, um, uh, jeez, buy things like new stereos or new watches or new hats or jerseys or shoes or whatever else. One time he even bought a new TV for himself specifically. When, my grandparents had to pay for my shoes or pay for a new backpack that I needed for school. Or one time my parents together, I guess, I don't remember a whole lot, bought me a Game Boy Advance SP when they were fairly new. And it went missing. And my dad blamed it on me for taking it to school. And my mom told me not to take it to school, and I didn't. And he said I must have just lost it. And then the next day, or a couple days after that, he came home with something brand new. I don't remember what it was. But everybody in the family, well, at least my mom's side of the family, said, yeah, he pawned it. And then my grandpa bought me a brand new one the year after, or 2 years after maybe. And then basically pinned him up against the wall and was like, don't you dare touch that boy's games, or I'll scalp you, basically. My grandpa's part native. He did things like watch something on TV, and I would, or even my mom too, she told me she did it. We would sit down and watch it with him and at least try to enjoy it. And then when something came on TV that we didn't want to watch, we would be like, hey, can we watch something else? And he's like, no, this is my television. I paid for it with my money. Which, all of those things are kind of minor things. It's just kind of tells you what kind of person he was. Just as a baseline type of a thing. He did much, much worse things than that. And that's kind of the thing that bothers me too, is that most of the things that he did was against my mom. He hardly did anything against me, because he hardly did anything with me either. He was mostly just there. He was mostly just a presence in my life that had neither a positive nor a negative effect in my life, because he knew that he couldn't be, that he when he did things against my mom, he knew that he could say, oh, she's just crazy, or oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, or oh, it's just a little argument, or oh, I never touched her, this and that and the other thing. And he could go around and tell his own family like those things, and they would believe him. But he knew if he ever touched me, he knew that if he ever did anything against me, a child who knows not spite, that they would believe me. And that's kind of the things that messes me up. That my mom had to go through all of that. And really the worst thing that I could say about my dad that he ever did to me was he did a couple of kind of fucked up things, kind of neglectful things. He never laid a hand on me. And that's what kind of fucks me up the most. That's what fucks me up the most. He one time he wanted something from my mom. I don't even know what. But he took my mom's credit card that she opened in her name and took it hostage and wanted something from her. Again, I don't remember what, and I don't remember exactly what all took place. I never really asked because I really don't want to know. But I just remember him being outside and yelling and screaming and holding this credit card, or maybe it was her whole wallet or purse, and screaming and yelling and gesturing with his hands, and the cops were called and he got hauled away. I remember one time I had just woken up for school, maybe. It was pretty early, I think. Maybe he was getting ready to go to work, I don't know. Which another thing, he could barely hold down a job. Which is why I'm very kind of taken aback that he might have been getting ready for work. I don't remember. I just remember it being really, really bright and early in the morning, and I had just woken up, and I just came into the kitchen soon enough to witness my dad splashing scalding hot, fresh coffee on my mom's face and chest. And I don't remember what happened after that. I remember a time when I would sit on my mother's bedside waiting for her to wake up because, I was a little kid. I don't remember why I did this, but I just remember thinking like, oh, what if she doesn't wake up one morning? I want to be there if that happens. So I did that a lot during this one specific time period. I would just sit there at the edge of her bed, and one morning I woke up and I went to go do that, and they were already screaming and yelling, and he had hucked a metal fan blade at her, and it was sticking in the wall. I remember one time, probably the last time that he ever did anything like this, because it was right before he got sick. My parents were arguing and screaming, and he was, I remember hearing, you know, and I went to go check to see what was happening, and I just remember my dad being on top of my mom hitting her. And at that point, I was old enough to think that I could do something, so I ran into my room and grabbed this, like, the only thing that I could find, which was a fiberglass rod that was once an antenna off of like a semi truck that I used as like my bow staff because I like cape shit. I ran in there and I wanted to defend my mom, and my dad immediately got up off of her, and my mom was reeling. She was on the bed still, like trying to recover or whatever, and he got up in my face and he said, "What are you gonna do, little man? Do you think you're a big enough man to take me? What are you gonna do, little man?" And I remember it must have been Mama Bear's strength, because I remember her just leaping off of the bed and slamming her entire weight into his body up against the wall. And I remember calling the cops after that. That's the kind of shit he did to my mom. Other than the constant yelling and screaming and putting down and talking shit about and swearing and carrying on, sometimes for hours, sometimes days at a time. It would be nonstop. That's the kind of shit he would do to my mom. And that's just the worst of it. That's that I know of. The only thing that my mom ever said about him after he passed that I didn't know about, I don't even remember what the conversation was about or what spurred it, but she had admitted to me that there was a lot of spousal rape. There was a lot of unwillingness there. A lot of I was spousally raped once. But I was drunk, and it was once. And I can't imagine. I can't fucking imagine. Multiple times. And was it multiple times a year? A month? A week? A day? She would never admit to that. But part of me, as a man who's been divorced, part of me thinks, why couldn't she get it over with? Why couldn't she just end that relationship? Why did she have to prolong it? If not for herself, then for me? And for a lot of people who see this, they might think, and maybe even if some of my dad's family sees this, they might think, well, if any of that were true, why didn't she get out? You're right, Nicholas. Why didn't she get out? If not for herself, then why not for you? And I know as a Christian, God doesn't like divorce. But even in the Bible, there are instances where the Bible says, like, well, if your partner does this thing, you don't have to be beholden to that bond because that bond is already broken. But I feel in my heart, maybe this is just a cope. Maybe it is a cope. But I feel like things happen for a reason. And my mom has told me stories about she has a bad back and she's had multiple surgeries on it. She's disabled. She's told me that she's asked and begged and pleaded with the Lord to heal her, and the Lord finally told her no. I feel like she did, she would have, or she did ask the Lord, should I divorce? Should I divorce? Should I divorce? And maybe he said no. And why, I don't think I'll ever know this side of divinity, of eternity, but there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason for my mom that she went through that. There has to be a reason for me that I went through that. What time is it? Okay. There has to be a reason even for my grandparents having to witness that. There even has to be a reason why his family acted the way that they did through everything that we went through. There has to be a reason. Even though my suffering was only a drop in the bucket compared to my mother's, I'm sure. There has to be a reason. Sorry if you can hear my roommate in the other room. He, at most that I can say about my dad is that when he did serve the Lord, which was not very often, he was a decent person. I have maybe 3 whole stories that are good about him. Maybe 3. And I have stories that I will go into that to bring up points, to bring up questions that I would ask him if I could. I have stories about many different things about the man, but I can only come up with maybe 3 good stories. And maybe 5 or 6 neutral stories. But because of my belief in the Lord, and because of my Christian upbringing, and because of how I was raised, I have to believe. There's no way that I can't believe that we went through that for nothing. I can't believe that. I said that wrong. I have to believe that we did that for something. I refuse to believe that I went through those things, that my mom went through those things, that the whole family went through those things for nothing. And again, what I went through was traumatic and was damaging, and I'm still healing through it. But what my mom went through, my heart breaks for her. And for all of the awful, terrible, disgusting disgusting things that my dad's family could say, which is why I don't want any contact with them, because I know that people like my cousin Lizette wouldn't have a single ill thing to say about my mom. But things like my Uncle Homer especially, or my Uncle Eddie, or even my Uncle Ramiro, who again is very soft spoken. And the only person, the only one of his siblings that I would even give a modicum of respect to, I can only imagine the shit that they would say about my mom. There has been plenty of times where I've been desperate and so hungry for communication with them, for a reconciliation with them, to have a full, robust family. But I can't. I can't because I am scared to death that they will say a single bad thing about my mother, and God himself would have to come down and stop me from saying or doing bad things in return. Because I know that they don't have a full picture, and I know that a lot of them don't have the willingness, the spiritual fortitude to come to terms with what their brother did to us. Maybe Ramiro, maybe Eddie, but the rest of them, no shot. No fucking shot. I could never sit down with them and talk to them about the shit that happened. No way. Because if they did so much as to say that my mom could have done better, I would flip my shit. There is no way. There's no fucking way. Like some cousins, I could probably sit down and have a civil conversation, no problem. Like I said, maybe my Uncle Ramiro. At the very, very, very most, my Uncle Eddie. But never any of his other siblings. Never, 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 never. From what I know about them, from what they said, we have a family friend who is really good friends with my uncle, my aunt, Becky, and my grandma on my mom's side. And some of the shit that she's said, that they've told her and talked about around her, is so fucking disgusting and heinous. Around the time that he passed away. And just the mere fact that when he passed away, they didn't tell us where or when the funeral was going to be, it just speaks that they didn't want us there. That they didn't even regard us, me and my mom. Their brother's fucking son. They didn't want it at his fucking funeral. If I could get an accounting of who was against that, that would be one thing. But just the fact that nobody ended up speaking up, and his cousin, my dad's cousin Sammy, told me. I don't remember what the stipulation was, but he told me over the phone that if we didn't do such and such a thing, that when my dad passed away, the family would leave us high and dry, me and my mom. That's what he told me. And it's not even really anger that I'm feeling right now, recalling all of this. It's disappointment and disgust and the feeling that they had no humanity, no empathy, that they didn't even entertain the fact that my dad could have been the bad guy. And I know all of this just has to be taken at my word, right? But even if you're part of this situation, if you who are watching, if you are part of any side of my family, if you are at all tangentially even close to being related to this situation, if you don't see this, and if you don't at least think maybe he's telling the truth, even just a maybe, then I want nothing to do with you. I don't want a fucking thing to do with you. And again, I know randos on the internet might see this, and this isn't for you. If you don't believe me, that's fine. It's okay. But I'm talking about if it ever comes across the ears or eyes of somebody who's related to this situation that I'm talking about either my dad's side of the family or my mom's side of the family or whoever, even if you're tangentially related to this situation, if you can't like take a breath and take a minute and search your soul and say, maybe he is telling the truth, then I don't want a single thing to do with you. And I'll get into more stories, and I'll tell more about my experiences with what happened and everything, and how, especially how my dad died and how he interacted with my mom's side of the family, and more stories about bad things he did, maybe good things he did. This is going to be a series of things, and honestly, a lot has been lifted from my shoulders just in the 48 minutes that I've been doing this. And I just want to say, for the randos watching, thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you for, any support or anything that you can give me. That's fine. I'm not asking for it, but if you choose to give it to me, thank you. But if you are related to the situation and you want to reach out, just leave me a comment and we can figure something out. But if you want to do that, I just need you to have an open mind and an open heart and understand, if you are on my dad's side of the family, that you don't know everything. As a fact, you don't know everything. And I'm sure that I don't know everything. Like I said, there are many questions that I would love to ask my dad or even his family. And if I'm able to ask those questions of you, to understand that I am still hurt, that I was abandoned, by your side of the family, me and my mom. We were made to be looked like liars. We were betrayed. We were, again, abandoned, left high and dry. And as long as you can refrain from, one, talking about my mother in any negative way, and refrain from putting my father in an ultra positive light in any way, and be neutral about this, and be open to you being wrong, then we can talk. We can absolutely talk. Because I don't want to be made to look like I am the perfect angel and I was abused and nothing else about that situation matters. That any sort of nuance that you could give me doesn't matter. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want you to look at this and think that I want to be made the perfect victim, even though I was a child. I don't want to make it sound like I want my mother to sound like a saint, because I'm sure that she had her faults in the relationship too. I'm sure that there are things that I don't know, that I haven't been told by either my mother, my grandparents, or people on my dad's side of the family. I know that. But my mother is not 100% a perfect victim either, and my father is not 100% a perfect villain either. But as long as you don't reverse those as well, then we can talk. I know the truth lies somewhere in the middle. But this isn't exactly a call for help. This is just me getting things off my shoulders. And I know there is a very, very slim chance that that side of the family would ever listen to me. I know. I'm still open to it. If my wife can forgive her dad for his abuse, I hope I can too. Someday. Like I said, I can say that I forgive him. I can say that I forgive his side of the family all day long. But in my heart of hearts, down in the pits of my soul, I know I don't. Not right now. I can't. Again, thank you for listening to me ramble.